the future of personal training and where are we going? I think all of us have some questions about that. I know that I've been very interested in the past 2 or 3 years to hear how things are going to change with us with regards to healthcare reform and things like that. So there's some opportunities in that for us to grow our business. But it's also going to mean that we're probably going to be required to have a little more education and maybe a little more credentialing. So what does that look like? So how do we survive in this changing training world? We've got to learn to create this complementary mix of training possibilities in order to suit the needs of the market and create stability and longevity for our business. That's a big statement. What it means, what I think it means, is training possibilities. So some variability in our training practices. Do we offer our clients things that they can't get anywhere else? What makes you different? Because you're going to have to be different if you're going to grow your business. What makes you different? We've got to have those possibilities, those different training possibilities and variability in training programs to suit the needs of the market. So if you've got clients that are going, oh, I'm going to go do CrossFit, or I'm going to go do Barry's boot camp, or I'm going to go do this, boot camp class in the park, you're losing them. They're not seeing the value in your one-on-one. And they're going, why would I pay $85 an hour to work with Brandi Binkley when I can go pay $20 and work out with somebody who's energetic and, saves me some money? So we've got to help them understand the value and what they're spending their money on. So suiting the needs of that market, as well as creating some stability and longevity. So that stability and longevity, I know for us, has definitely come from having a variation in our product, our training product, meaning we offer sports performance. One of my trainers is great at sports performance. That's his thing. He was an athletic trainer. He does MAT, ART, and he loves working with kids on sports performance. So if somebody comes in and they want to increase their vertical, send them to Garrett without even thinking about it. And that's his niche. For me, it's usually, weight loss. I want to drop 5% body fat. I want to just increase my mobility, that kind of stuff. But we all have our gifts. So I'd encourage you, if you work with a staff or you own a training studio, to really have your trainers or have your colleagues sit down with each other and go through what you're good at. What are you good at? Because we can't be good at it all. We've got to find something that makes us stand out. So obviously, we're going to talk about some education, technology, creating that variability, and creating sustainability. Really keeping those clients for a long time. I know that's kind of a touchy subject for some people because they think, oh, I don't want my client to need me forever. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. It doesn't mean that you're not doing a good job. It means that you're doing a fantastic job, and they can't get enough of you. And that means money in your pocket. It means you're making money. Okay. Education, federal regulations. We're really moving towards some sort of credentialing requirements. I know in the state of Tennessee, what we are looking at, and again, I would encourage you to take part in this. I meet with my local legislators all the time, and I have lunch with our congressmen on a monthly basis to talk about this and say, listen, we want to be careful what we have as far as licensure because we don't want people who know nothing about exercise science regulating our field, right? We want to regulate our field. And so if we can have some input in that, then it's going to go in a direction that's more positive for us. And so what we're looking at is maybe having some sort of education requirement, right? So then you don't have to take a state exam. You just say you have maybe an associate's and an NSCA certification. So those kinds of things are gonna kind of keep you up in that gold standard category. And I think that you having your NSCA absolutely makes you stand out, heads above everyone else. Industry growth. U.S. Labor Department's assessing that our industry is the largest growing in the country. If you aren't busy, it is your fault. There are plenty, and this is a little, or people don't love this word. I love it. There are plenty of fat people to go around, right? I mean, we can walk out on this street out in front of the hotel and see that people need our help. So if you're not busy, you're not motivated. You got to find that intrinsic motivator inside yourself and light it up because there's plenty of business to be had, and it's going to get better. So certification. Again, just having that NSCA certification stands out. You know, that's one of the things I love about the NSCA is that it's the only organization that really pushes a lot of good research. You know, we've got a lot of good research and a lot of good presenters here who are teaching us new things. And, you know, I mean, you think that you can only go over the squat form so many times, but don't we learn something new every time when you come to these things? Absolutely. Okay. Our federal regulation, to date, there's no legislation that's necessarily been passed, but what they're doing at a federal level is kind of looking at, you know, who can charge to be a personal trainer, what that looks like, and should they tax our service. So that's something, again, you need to really research. Look up IRSA. Everybody know what IRSA is? Yeah. Okay, so they're kind of a lobbying group, and they do some really interesting stuff. So a lot of states are in that process. The other neat thing is that, again, stay informed, understanding your credentialing, and you can't be too educated. This is the other cool thing. So many universities, Cornell, Ohio State University, Florida State University, LSU, Duke, all these places are creating these wonderful strength and conditioning undergraduate programs. And so if you've ever thought, you know, if you don't have your degree in exercise science and you thought maybe I should, don't think maybe. You should definitely do it. Pursue that, because bottom line, if they do require more education, you'll have it. You'll be ready, right? And it makes you stand out. Okay, finding your niche. You got to separate yourselves from others. I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. You need to know your specialty. What are you good at? If you don't like kids, you shouldn't be working with kids, right? It's basic. If you love, you know, functional training, maybe work with people who need more basic functional training. Don't set yourself up to work with, you know, to design strength programs for an NFL player if you don't like sports. You know, I mean, it's kind of basic, so kind of think about that. Get your necessary credentials. So if you do want to do sports performance, maybe look into like your CSCS, right? So most of us here are CPT, but maybe get your CSCS. Or if you want to do something like ART, like our guy Garrett does ART and MAT. And it's been very beneficial. Not only do people come in to see him for active release technique, they also then sign up for a session with him because they see how smart he is and how good he is at what he does. So that gives him a niche, and that gives him two different avenues for business, right? Not just training, but ART and MAT. So having your specialty definitely diversifies your client base, because you can then just do general populations too, right? You don't have to only work in your niche, but you know, you can train your normal people who come in 3 days a week and they just want to increase their quality of life, but then you can work in your niche as well. So know your demographic. So how many of you started personal training, did not know how to market, and just said, I'm going to try this training thing? By show of hands, who did any marketing when you first started out? What'd you do? Yeah. Postcards, like through the mail? Yeah. Okay. So mailers. So how do you get your word out? How do you get the word out about how awesome you are? You got to think about that. Know your demographic. I know for us, I did some research on our zip code. Where is my studio going to be located? Where do my clients come from? Like, where do they live in relation to the studio, right? And so I knew that we had a higher end clientele. And so I put our studio in the highest producing zip code in Nashville. That's how it works. Understand their needs. The needs of those people are not the same as the needs of the people who work out at the community rec center. They're not. And I'm not talking about knowing their needs on a physiological level. I'm talking about on a psychological level. So I have a great example of this. I have a client that's been with me for about 8 years. He's gone through 2 bone marrow transplants, leukemia twice, survivor. He started a private bank by himself, no investors. And he is a very type A, high drive, energetic guy. He's 65. He shows up 3 to 4 days a week, and he needs something different every day he comes in, right? Not only, obviously, do I have to program for him based on his needs, because we're working through some neurological stuff with the chemo that he's experienced, but I also need to work on him through his psychological needs, because his job is very stressful. So when he comes in, I need to be able to look him in the eyes and go, hey, Tom, How you doing this morning? What's going on today with you? Got a busy day? How's that stress level at work? You know, and then I may change his whole program from that point on. He may need an all-out butt kicking, right, to help relieve some of that stress. So you gotta know your client's needs, and that's why I share that with you. So, know your competition. What are people doing that you're not? How are trainers getting business? You know, I heard someone yesterday say this in a talk about don't be upset if you see somebody who's not qualified and they've got a Facebook page with 10,000 likes. They're putting it out there. And if you don't do it, somebody else will. So get in it. Get on your game. All right, and being qualified, obviously. Collaborate. We don't have to know everything. We do not know everything. So don't be scared to outsource some of your clients. You know, when my client Tom, I was just telling you about, has just chronically tight hips and back, golfs obsessively, I outsource him to our PT or to a great massage therapist who does a lot of nice deep tissue work because I know it's the best thing for him, and he stays. Again, he's been with me for 8 years, so there's proof in that. Find those other people that are really good at what you're not good at, okay? Maybe collaborate with some physicians in town. But do your research first. Don't ask the first doctor you meet. Like, do your research and really know that they have the same philosophy and kind of thought processes that you do with regards to training. It's not going to hurt your business. It's going to fuel your business. We started working with a physician in town about 8 months ago, and we've sent him probably 10 clients, and he has sent us about 14. So that's up to my business, just having a conversation with him and saying, hey, I need to be able to send people to you who need to lose weight, like, you know, need to see a physician to lose weight. And so that's kind of helped my business too. All right, technology. How many of y'all have had your client come to you with something and go, what is this? What is this at? How do I work it? Fix my heart rate monitor. I don't know how to do this. We have to know what the what is. I had somebody on the plane on the way out here telling me about an app that you could link up with your jawbone. It's a Strava. Do y'all know? Have y'all heard of that? It's a cycling app, and it links up to your jawbone, and it will measure your output and calorie expenditure and all that good stuff based on your cycling program that day, I guess. But those kinds of things are coming at us all the time, and your clients do expect you to know what things are. So don't be in the dark about that. Really do your research, and if they say, hey, what's the best heart rate monitor? What do you recommend? Why do you recommend it? Know what you're talking about. Again, know what's popular and why, because they will bombard you with this crap. Okay, online training. Know how to use it and when to use it. So do you think that a woman in her late 40s coming in who needs to lose 65 pounds is going to do okay doing a Skype training session with you? No, she's going to need some FaceTime, right? She's going to need some real accountability. So don't set her up on a program because you think it'll keep her in there longer, or you think you can make more money on it initially. Set her up on what's right. Set her up on what's really going to help her find success. The online training tools can be great. I don't know if you guys saw the Dartfish booth. That was it's remarkable stuff. You can video your client. The app is $5. I do not work for Dartfish. I just thought it was amazing. The app is $5. You can video your client doing a squat. You can video them doing a clean, anything you want. And then show them, do the video feedback and show them so they have a visual of what they're doing wrong. It's a really good way to help them understand and see and get some neurological feedback too, right? Because if they see it, they'll likely fix it. So this is kind of what I've done at PhysioFit is I knew that I started as a personal trainer. I think we all would agree that it's going to be really difficult to work until we retire, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Because that's when people train, right? A lot of us don't have sessions from 10, 11, and 12 during the day, and then from 1 to 3 and 4. We work these crazy hours. And so if you can figure out a way to kind of diversify what you do as a trainer, you're going to be able to get a little more incoming revenue to help you stay in business a little longer and not work so hard and such long hours. So we did a PT sports performance program, added that on, which is sort of small group. We do it in 2s, 3s, and 4s. And then the price obviously comes down the more kids we add. We don't go over 5. 5 even is quite a bit. Some small group training, that's kind of, the thing right now. People are doing small group because it's not as costly to the client, and you can get more in. But I think, something you need to consider, and this is definitely something I've noticed in our business, is that when you have those small groups, you cannot watch everybody. It's not the same as eyes on one person, right? If I'm watching her squat, deadlift, something, I can walk around her and she's got my full attention. When you're in those small groups, really cap them based on your movements because you don't want somebody to get hurt, right? So just realize that if you got somebody in there that's going, that you can kind of tell needs a little more attention, maybe you recommend to them that they do 1 or 2 sessions with you on the side, solo, so you can help them in their movements and help fix some of the things that are going wrong, and then put them in those small groups. So don't just throw them in there because you're going to make more money. It's not right and they won't stay. Group X, again, we cap our Group X at about 12. Again, just because you can't watch everybody. I don't care if it's TRX, cycle, high-intensity interval training, we cap it. And all those classes are also taught by exercise physiologists at our place. Corporate wellness. So this is something that you guys really need to start learning about. There is so much money to be made in corporate wellness. We are starting what we call a beta group. And so we're going to have a testing group that basically we go into their business and we've partnered with our physician. So now it's covered on their insurance. Partnered with our physician friend, and he is going to do all the pre-testing. So once he's done all their pre-testing, I know their health screening's good, right? They come to me and I put them in categories based on their risk factors. So then we can do training programs in small groups based on their risk factors. And these aren't people, obviously, that are coming in like, high-intensity athletes, people who are training for certain events. These are people who sit all day. You don't need a bunch of equipment. You can even do just a basic workout program. Call local businesses in your area and see who does anything wellness. See if they have anything that, they're interested in. See if they have anything that they're interested in paying you for. And don't make it, the cost so high that they don't want to do it. Because remember, most people don't want to spend a bunch of money. But if you show them what they're going to be saving on healthcare long term, you'll sell them in a second, right? Because it's like every $1 spent, the return for a company is $4, right? So if they spend, $500, you've just saved them quite a bit of money, right? So think about doing that corporate wellness stuff. And you don't have to have a link to a physician necessarily. You don't have to have a link to an insurance company. But definitely just call around. Pick some small businesses, maybe a local bank, something like that. Start small and then you work your way up. You don't want to go in, head first to a 200-person executive office and not have the resources and tools you need. So just think basic and progress. All right, private versus small group. How many of you do only private sessions? Raise the hands. Oh, okay. How many do small group? The other people who didn't raise their hand just don't train? A combination. You do both? Okay. So how many of you do both? Nice. Okay, good. Y'all are on top of it. Love it. Okay. A little one-on-one is something most people rarely have. And so I want you to think about this when you start to put your people who do one-on-one with you into a group and you're like, hey, if I put Tom and Sally and Kim together, I can make more money. This is not about you. It is not about you. If they want to do it, let them do it on their own, or if you think they would do well from doing it once in a while, recommend it. But those people who pay me $85 an hour like one-on-one personal attention. It's probably the only time during their week that they have somebody giving them their undivided attention. When is the last time you had somebody give you their undivided attention? Look at you in the eyes and have a conversation with you. A large part of that session that you're giving them, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for somebody to care. You can have the best programming in the world, and if you're on your phone, you're gonna scoop dry as a trainer, because they're not gonna appreciate that very much. So just think about that. If they're private type people, you'll be able to gauge that. Don't make them go into small groups. But if you think they'll do well, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, throw them in a small group. It might shake their routine up a little bit. Again, it makes them feel special. You'll cultivate a long-term relationship. I've had clients that I've had for 10 years. A mother and 2 daughters who've lost 180 pounds together. They stuck it out. I've had them for 10 years. They feel the value. You know, they don't mind spending $900 a month on training. They'll spend it because they see the value in it and they know you care. Consistency with flexibility is necessary. Booking hours, training program variance. So mix it up for your clients. Don't book yourself out 40 hours a week and not give your people who are committed a little flexibility to move if they need to. I know we've all had those people who call or text and they're like, I'm done. You know, I'm done. Or I can't come in today. And then you're feeling like, look, this is a pain in the butt trying to get you to reschedule. And then you lose money. But if you'll be flexible for your people who are consistent, they'll stay with you. Okay. Another thing about small group that's great, it is a little more lucrative. You're impacting more people at once, creating accountability amongst the group. So just making sure those people in there are good to go, and you'll have a successful small group business. Creating stability. If you own a personal training business, you got to create that environment that makes trainers want to stay. Does anybody in here own their own studio? Okay. You got to create that environment that makes them want to stay, right? Otherwise, why would they just not take their clients and go somewhere else? So giving them an energy that fosters growth. Your good trainers can become great, and the ones who aren't so great, they'll find life elsewhere, right? We've all seen that. Okay. For me, personally, great personal training is a blend of assessing, connecting, understanding, and cultivating and implementing. So as we move forward, kind of where our industry is headed as personal training, not group training, but personal training. If you connect with your people, they will stay with you. If you outsource when you need to, when they need to, they'll stay with you. And then they'll always send people back your way. Implement those programs that you know they need. If you're not writing stuff down, you are doing them a disservice. You are. You don't have to write down every single weight that Sally pushes, but you need to know what she did the day before, what she, when she comes in, she's like, my low back's a little tight or my hips kind of bother me. Make that note and adjust her program accordingly. That's going to keep your personal training clients with you. I would also I want to share with you kind of something that is interesting. I got an email a couple weeks back from a friend, and it was saying that there is a possibility that we may have some legislation passed that says that our clients and future clients can use their health savings account to pay for your services. How great would that be? And it would probably keep, it might take that person who's doing 1 session a week to doing 2 sessions a week or 3 sessions a week. Also, if you think about implementing some when I say variability in training, I don't just mean in programs, I mean in your timing. So how many of you do 30-minute sessions? Good. How many do 45-minute sessions? And hour sessions? Yeah. So we added 45-minute sessions and upped our monthly revenue 25%. Because those people who come in, they don't want to stay an hour, they think 30 minutes isn't long enough. They were like, 45 minutes and it's less expensive. And you've got time to do the program, you've got time to give them a nice little stretch and then send them on their way. And they don't feel like it was a task. So maybe incorporate some of that.